The movie begins in England on a chicken farm. Willard Tweedy, a grumpy farmer, checks on the chickens at night. This is where we meet Ginger, a fearless, brave, and determined hen who strives to escape with her chicken friends. One of the hens gets stuck in the fence, and Mr. Tweedy discovers them. Dogs chase Ginger, but Melissa Tweedy intervenes.
What is that chicken doing outside the fence?
Mr. Tweedy locks Ginger in a trash can and tells the hens they cannot escape. The Tweedys are a grumpy middle-aged farmer couple who run an egg selling and distribution business. They kill and consume inefficient hens for their business. Ginger is the only one willing to defy them and often organizes escape plans, which unfortunately always fail or are discovered in time by Mr. Tweedy, who punishes Ginger by locking her in the trash can. Ginger comes out of the trash can, and that day, all the hens line up for Mrs. Tweedy to count how many eggs they have laid. One of the hens didn't lay any eggs and is sacrificed. After witnessing her friend's death, Ginger becomes saddened and desperate to escape. She calls a meeting at night where rats named Nick and Fetcher appear, offering to help the hens in exchange for eggs. However, since Ginger refuses to give them eggs, the rats refuse to help.
Can't give them our eggs. They're too valuable.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Tweedy, tired of making little money, gets inspired by a magazine article to start a new business, while Mr. Tweedy believes the hens are plotting something, although Mrs. Tweedy thinks he's hallucinating.
It's all in your head, Mr. Tweedy.
At the hen meeting, we meet Fowler, an elderly rooster who always recounts his experiences in the Air Force. Mac explains the new plan to the hens.
We go over it.
The farmer arrives and the hens hide everything. Mrs. Tweedy calls him and he tells himself he's hallucinating.
It's all in your head.
Ginger tries to convince her friends to escape, but she's the only one with hope. Ginger goes out and frustratedly says,
Heaven help us.
At that moment, a rooster appears flying, but he falls and gets injured. The rooster had a sign, and Ginger comes up with the idea to fly out of the farm.
Okay.
The rooster wakes up with a fractured wing and introduces himself as Rocky, coming from the United States. He claims to be the flying rooster in the sign, and Ginger suggests that Rocky could teach them to fly and escape.
What?
Ginger tells Rocky that she wants to get all the hens out at the same time, although Rocky thinks it's a crazy idea.
You can't pull off a stunt like that. That's suicide.
A circus truck arrives, and Ginger realizes that Rocky is from the circus. She wants to turn him in if he doesn't teach them to fly, but Rocky agrees and tries to help. They hide from Mrs. Tweedy, and Rocky sends Rocky to sleep with Fowler. The next day, Rocky teaches the hens to fly and makes them exercise. Mr. Tweedy notices, but the hens play it cool. Meanwhile, Rocky gets a massage, and Ginger feels they are not making progress, so she confronts Rocky. Rocky then makes them try to fly. Although they can only jump and fall, they keep trying to fly without success. Ginger attempts but fails. That night, a truck arrives and Rocky thinks it's the circus and hides, but it's not. It's a machine ordered by Mrs. Tweedy to increase farm profits.
Melissa Tweedy will be poor no longer.
Mac tells Ginger that he doesn't think they are ready to fly, although Ginger insists she saw Rocky fly. Mac discovers that what they lack is the lift. Ginger tells Rocky that if she doesn't see results by tomorrow, he'll have to leave. Rocky asks the rats for some things to boost the hens and lies to them about paying with eggs.
I didn't lie, Dollface. I just omitted certain truth.
That makes sense to me.
Rocky puts the lift plan into action, and it seems like it's going to work, but it doesn't. The bell rings for egg counting, and Babs says she didn't lay any eggs because she was busy trying to fly.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
The hens line up, and Babs is scared, thinking they'll kill her, but they only measure her.
Oh, my life flashed before my eyes.
Mrs. Tweedy sends Mr. Tweedy to give them more food to fatten them up more. Ginger flips the grains to make them stop eating, realizing they are being fattened up to be killed. Rocky asks Ginger to lie to make the hens feel better, but Ginger refuses. Rocky looks at the depressed hens and decides to ask the rats for a radio and play music to make the hens dance and have fun. Ginger notices that Rocky's wing is better and gets excited because now Rocky can teach them how to fly. They are interrupted by noises from the Tweedy's machine, a machine that creates chicken pies. Mr. Tweedy looks for Ginger to test the machine, and the hens panic, so Rocky goes to save her. They put Ginger in the machine, and Rocky tries to help her but ends up in it too. Rocky almost dies but manages to save himself. They fall into a mass that will be flattened, manage to free themselves, cover the sauce with a carrot, and enter the oven. Before it closes, they manage to escape, realizing that the machine is about to explode.
What did you do, you great pudding?
Ginger and Rocky escape from the machine, realizing that Mrs. Tweedy wants to make chicken pies. Ginger gives hope to the hens by telling them they sabotaged the machine so they have more time to escape with Rocky's help. Fowler congratulates Rocky for saving Ginger, and Ginger thanks him for saving her life and giving hope to the hens. Rocky tries to say something, but he can't and only says,
You're welcome.
The next day, Ginger excitedly goes to look for Rocky but only finds a sign that shows the truth. Rocky can't fly alone, he's a circus rooster propelled with a cannon.
The deception! The betrayal!
Rocky escapes from the farm. Hurt by the deception, Ginger loses all hope.
The only way out of here is wrapped in pastry.
Fowler starts talking about the Air Force, but the hens are fed up, so they start fighting each other when they see the metal. Ginger comes up with an idea to build an airplane and fly in it.
What?
Max takes care of the engineering, Babs of the manufacturing, Fowler of the aeronautics advice, and Bonte will lay the eggs to pay the rats to find the materials they need. The rats steal materials from Mr. Tweedy and they start building the plane. Meanwhile, Mr. Tweedy tries to repair the machine, which is almost ready. Rocky rides a bike and finds a sign from Mrs. Tweedy about her chicken pies.
Oh boy.
Later, Mr. Tweedy repairs the machine and Mrs. Tweedy asks to bring all the hens.
I don't like where this is going.
Mr. Tweedy realizes that the hens stole his tools and the hens attack and lock him in the chicken coop. Ginger decides to escape at that moment, so they all set off and build the plane. Ginger tells Fowler that they need to take off because he is the pilot. Fowler says he has never flown a plane, just was the pilot's mascot. Ginger encourages Fowler and convinces him to pilot the plane.
Wing Commander, T.I. Fowler, reporting for duty.
But when they are about to take off, Mr. Tweedy intervenes to prevent it.
Oh, come on!
Ginger gets off the plane to put the ramp back. Mrs. Tweedy arrives to kill Ginger, and Rocky comes to help, hitting Mrs. Tweedy, who faints. Ginger and Rocky put the ramp and the plane takes off. Ginger and Rocky grab the light cables, but Mrs. Tweedy does too.
Aw, for the love of crud!
Babs gives scissors to Ginger to cut the cables. Mrs. Tweedy tries to climb onto the plane, Ginger falls on the cable, Rocky throws eggs at Mrs. Tweedy, Ginger drops the scissors, and Mrs. Tweedy swings at Ginger, but Ginger dodges it and hits the rope, releasing it. They fall into the machine, which explodes.
I told you they was organized.
The hens rejoice at being able to escape, and Ginger kisses Rocky. Sometime later, we see the hens living happily in a chicken sanctuary. Now they have chicks educated by Fowler and Mac. And that's how the movie ends.